Welcome back. Wow, that was that was a fun hockey game there, huh? Oh, it always feels good beating those Wild. I'm gonna say the word. Yeah. So Avs on the road, first time in a while, going into probably one of the hardest places to play lately. The Wild were 14 in a row, I think, winning at home, and we came in and we didn't really just come in and kick their ass, but we finished the job. Obviously, we got the win. Um, yeah, I mean, God, I hate the Wild so much. Whew, feels good. So, not the best start though. Wild came out firing. Avs came out still getting off the plane. Like they just, who knows? It's always hard playing on the road. They've spent, waking up in a hotel room versus being at home for the last month. It's going to be a little weird. So, but Ryan Hartman gets the goal 8 minutes into the first, put him up 1-0, and it very well could have been a 3-0 by that point. I think Spurgeon had one off the post. Grubauer made some big saves. Avs were on their heels. They were on their heels coming out the gate. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, I probably shouldn't think this, but I'm like, is this going to be the first game? Is this going to be the game that finally ruins our streak? Because we got two streaks going into it. We had a 14 home streak win for the Wild, and Avs have just been putting up points like crazy. They've been on fire. So the question is, who's going to break the streak first? I think McNabb mentioned that early in the first. But anyways, yeah. So Hartman, the Blues kind of dominated the whole first period up until about 6 minutes left. I think what started it off was the third line. Was Donskoy's line had a really good shift in the zone. After that point, McKinnon's line got out there, and they had a good shift in the zone. They were putting up shots. Wasn't even in the shots. They outshot us in the first period. But at least we had a little bit of fire going into the second. We had a little bit of momentum going in because right off the bat, first of all, it's not too often we get outscored in a period, and not too often we get outshot in a period and we don't put one in the back of the net. But we're down 1-0 going in the second, and again, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, man, I really don't want it to be the Wild that ends the streak, but it had to end eventually. But then Nathan McKinnon said, shut the fuck up. I'm going to go take care of this. And Girard, who had himself a game. A little quiet in the last series against St. Louis. Nothing bad, but, he just got a few assists here and there. Comes out, makes a great play, fires it up for McKinnon. It's cutting across the ice. He's just creating so much speed. And I kind of want to draw this up a little bit again. I've been drawing up Girard a little bit here twice in a row, but we're going to do it again because why not? So, Girard, he gets right off the face-off, puck goes down the ice. Girard, our big guy here, big, picks it up, and McKinnon, who off the face-off, came back and was pressuring this guy who dumped it in. Now, he came down while Girard's coming, came back, and he knew. He saw there was all this open space, okay? Why was there open space? Well, we had Rantanen chilling out here, pulling back the defenseman from their side. And we had Landeskog doing the same thing with their guy up here. This is almost like a power play breakout. I mean, I guarantee you, if you guys play Bantam hockey or Pee Wee hockey, this is kind of what you want some of your wingers to do half the time, is draw them out and create all this open space. Meanwhile, our buddy McKinnon, Nako, is flying around. Girard comes around, and he feathers a perfect pass. I mean, this thing was perfect through two guys' sticks in stride. That's the biggest thing I don't think we mentioned. Yeah, I made it through two sticks and within inches of being poke checked either way, but McKinnon didn't have to slow down. He didn't have to slow down. And this guy had to come over and commit back, but at this point, he's gone. He's maybe not the fastest in the league, but there's not many guys. There's no defenseman that's going to catch up to that play. And he buries one, right above the pad. One of my favorite spots to shoot. Right above the pad, right below the blocker. Shot was fine, but I put this all on play design and Girard making this pass. So, obviously, we're back. It's 1-1. No longer worried. It's just kind of the way the Avs been going this year. Right after that, next shift, we throw a second line out there, and they're starting to heat up. Burakovsky from Gerard and Kadri. Gerard, another assist. Now, this was all set up by Gerard in the first place, getting it in the offensive zone. They were able to create pressure based on what he was able to do in the neutral zone, creating time and space with his footwork and him working well with Taves. God, that pair is so dirty. What a signing by Sakic. Probably my favorite signing of the year so far. Probably Gerard, what did I say last week? Gets the puck on net. That's all you got to do. I think he got deflected a little bit, and so Talbot, their goal tender, didn't have quite a control of the glove. Didn't have great control of the puck when it hit his glove. It kind of ricocheted off, bounced in the crease. Burakovsky was cutting through. That's what they've been doing better. They've been going to the net. Too many times they get caught dangling too much, making that extra move, trying to go for that Hail Mary goal versus just get down and dirty and get to work. And that's where they found success with Saad yesterday or last series, and that's where they found success again. Because right after that, Brandon Saad, not right after that, later in the period, Brandon Saad gets a goal from Burakovsky and McDonald. Again, same situation. So second line's heating up. This is what we need, because think about 2 years ago when it was just one line. When McKinnon, Rantanen, and Landeskog were firing, we were winning games. When they didn't have a point, we were losing games. So we have this incredible balance where all four lines can pick up the slack. And that's what makes this team so deadly. Because guess what? Fourth line, JT Compher from Makar and O'Brien. 4 goals in the second period. I don't really think this was on Talbot. I think the Avalanche, for some reason, have a really good second period. They've historically this season had a really good second period, and they were able to just pound and pound and pound and put the puck in the net and give themselves a great cushion. A great cushion, because they're going to need it. So let's see. It was 4 goals, so it's 4-1 going into the third. Wild, we're not done. Wild, they're playing at home. We got to keep in mind too, this is a road game. With road fans, you change the way you kind of play for road games. You kind of scrap it out when you can. You get it deep much you can. You try to tire them down, so at least you're put on the same level, because those guys are sleeping in their own beds with their home meals. You do whatever you can to wear them down to get to that point. And they started transitioning their game away, even though we had a big 3-goal cushion, and started taking some penalties. That's been my biggest problem with the Avs lately, which is not saying much because we've been great. I mean, this is like nitpicking at this point, but their discipline is not where I think it needs to be. I can point out a few players, but essentially they get a power play. They don't score on it. Their power play at that point had been 0 for 5 until Bjugstad buries one and then makes it a 2-goal game. Not too bad. The reason why I was a little worried is I'm not an emotional fan, but I just know that it's different when you're on the road, and it's different against a rival team, and it's different when it's Minnesota, who's been able to come back this year. But Landeskog comes down, makes it 5-2. On the power play from Rantanen and McKinnon, all he had to do was put his stick down on the ice. I think it's a goal that I could have actually scored, which is saying something about the passing. First of all, working it around, controlling the puck. The Avalanche do a really great job in the power play that a lot of teams don't do, is when they get pressure, they have support on the opposite sides of the zone. So they are able to, okay, I'm getting pressured here. I got 2 guys on me. I'm going to rip it around to Rantanen on the other side. If that guy gets pressured, well, Makar's going to slide over. Rantanen's going to pop it up, and then we can get back to work. So we're able to sustain. The only issue for our power play is getting in the zone. But tic-tac-toe, easy peasy for Gabe. Puts it in. He's been on fire as well. He's just been in the right spots. And now at this point, it's 5-2. 7 minutes left in the game. All's well. I don't know if Burrows got into a fight. I don't know if this was before or after the Johansson goal, or Johansson. No one knows how. He keeps changing how he wants to pronounce it. Anyways, Burrows goes to head-to-head with Bjugstad. And Bjugstad, I don't think, knew that this little rookie has been spent the last 5 years in the AHL, where pretty much if you're going to spend 5 years in the AHL, you got to be doing this kind of stuff. And Burrows just blast the guy. And I mean, there's no real impact on the game, I guess, and positive for the Avs out of that play. But it was just great to see that kid. Our defense this year have been so deep coming off the Eagles roster. And stop. and stepping up and not being a hindrance. Renuff, McDonald's found his way into the lineup. He's kind of had some slower games here and there, but the defense have been great. I just attest to how deep this franchise is as a whole. But speaking of defense, the defenseman that I think has been disappointing this year is Ryan Graves, and not necessarily because he's not been on the score sheet and all that stuff. I don't care. That's not my biggest thing about his game. The reason why I was such a big fan of him last year was he's able to clear the puck, make smart plays defensively, and kill the penalties off well. He's been doing that at different streaks this year, and now he's been taking some weird penalties. And this penalty he took at the end of the game, with 3 minutes or I don't know how many minutes left. Let's see, less than a minute left. Pulling an interference penalty. Obvious interference call. And I know these guys have to argue, and maybe it's part of their contracts. They have to argue every call they get on them or something, because that was one of the most obvious calls, and it was something that didn't have to happen. He could have just moved his feet. In less than a minute in the game, you could just move your feet. Probably won't win the race to the puck, but you can at least pin the puck. We're in a situation where we just want to kill time. We don't need to do that. We just need to get control, or at least keep it pressured in the low zone and keep some battles, poke it free, and then we can get it out. That just when I saw it happen, and I'm like, oh God. But luckily, Fiala scored in the power play with 19:25, and it wasn't enough because at that point the game was almost over. But just, I don't know. It's just something that I think has been more worrying some over the last few weeks is some of these penalties they're taking in certain situations that you're going to take a penalty a game. I get it, but we can't be in the box for, what was it, 7? The Wild had a 10% penalty power play percentage, but it doesn't matter. When you have 7 penalties, they're going to score at least 1, and they got 2 that night. Granted, one was 6 on 5, but it's still, it could have been a different situation. Just some stuff we want to clean up. Just tighten some things up going forward, especially tomorrow night, 4-7, we're going to go play them again. What I think is funny is the Wild, we have their number this year, and we're about the only team. Wild came into Denver on like a huge win streak, hottest team in the NHL. We kicked the shit out of them 2 games. But then they go back out again, come back home, and they kick the shit out of the teams right after, as if that series didn't even happen with Colorado. So they're on fire again. But then we come in there and win. We put up 5 goals and beat them. I mean, I think the score was a lot closer than the game really was. But what's interesting about the Wild, and I think why we have their number, is it's kind of, and I could be off here, but they're changed their style from a few years ago to being kind of like a Columbus, where we're going to pound you, we're going to beat you physically, wear down your stars, and they moved to the same style as the Avs. They went to a speed, less physical, going to beat you with our speed and putting it in the back of the net when they're passing. I mean, we got Kaprizov. They're kind of coming out of a small rebuild type situation, but I think where that hurts them against the Avs is they had the same system, the same play style, but we're just better. We just had the better talent and the more experience to do so. So if I would be more worried about, say, Vegas or, in the playoffs than I would be against the Wild, just because of the way that we match up. Vegas, we try to go physical with them, they win. When we try to beat them with speed, and we win. So it kind of depends on how the game goes for them. The Wild have beaten us this year. We still got 3 more games, I think, against the Wild. But I just think it's interesting that these teams are starting to adapt their play styles to more. And I'm not saying Colorado's the pioneer. We're just the ones that made it successful. We've found success from the rebuild in 2017 till now. So game 2 tomorrow night, 4-7. I don't know what to expect on this one, because the game was so different from period to period that they're going to probably come out hungry. But the Avalanche are kind of going to get into their swing too. It's the first game on the road is always harder than the second game. I'm expecting it to be a low scoring game. I think it's going to be like a 3-2, a 3-1. I hope I'm wrong. I hope we come out and kick the shit out of these guys and sweep them and move on to the next series. Just continue rolling. So thanks for stopping by and listening to my review of game 1 of 2 of this 2-game series against the Wild. And just one more note, it really pisses me off. Really pisses me off that the Wild have one of the coolest, most beautiful jerseys in the NHL, and it had to be the team that I hate the most. Even the North Stars one, man, those are gorgeous. All right, well, I will reach out to you guys here after game 2. Let's go Avs.